Welcome back to Monday Mornings with the McPherson sisters. I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Megan.
And this week we are pretending like we're in Italy. I don't know why I've been here. But really we're at our Edina office, and this week we're going to be talking a little bit about foreclosures and short sales and what the differences are and what the positives and negatives are about both of those types of properties, just to give you guys a little bit better of an idea, kind of what you're getting yourself into, what to look forward to. Sometimes it can be very rewarding, and sometimes it can be very kind of stressful and drawn out. So Megan and I are just going to give you kind of some background knowledge and tell you a little bit about our experiences and what we've learned throughout our careers, and kind of a little bit more about short sales and foreclosures. So why don't you tell us first about what exactly is a short sale, Meg?
Sure. So a short sale is right before a property goes into foreclosure. Well, not necessarily right before, but it's kind of that step before. So a client would reach out to Jennifer and I, and they would say, I want to list my house. I don't want to go into foreclosure, and I want to sell it, but I owe more on my mortgage than what my home is worth, than what the market value of my property is. And so what that looks like, just to give an example, is let's say you owe $200,000 on your mortgage, and the market value of your home right now is $175,000. So that would be a short sale. We need to be negotiating with the bank, and the bank needs to say, yes, that's okay, we can sell your house for $175,000. So in order for someone to do that, you have to be approved for a short sale.
Right.
Jennifer and I work with a short sale attorney, which really, really helps speed up the process. It's actually a fee for the seller to be represented, with a short sale attorney, and the fee for that is around $400. So what we tell them is the likelihood of you having a successful short sale just doing it on your own is kind of slim to none.
Right.
But when the short sale attorney is involved, it's $400 versus you going into foreclosure.
Right.
So it is really worth it. And what we do is we list the property a little bit high, and then we kind of knock it down so the bank can see the property is not going to sell for that high price. It's going to sell for this. This is what the market value of the property is, and the bank is more likely to agree and say, you know what, they're right, we'll accept this offer versus going into foreclosure.
And typically that number we start at is right above what you owe on your mortgage now. So
or right around that, yeah.
The bank can see that your property isn't at that market value of what you may still owe on your mortgage, and
we won't receive offers at that price.
Right.
And once we start dropping it down, we're going to start seeing offers. So the risk of, now that's more on the seller side and what a short sale is. But if you're on the buy side of a short sale, it's kind of a sticky situation. So a lot of times people say, I want a short sale, I want a foreclosure, Megan, I want a good deal. And yes, you could get a great deal on a property if it's a short sale or foreclosure. If you have a timeline of needing to be in a property, a short sale is not the situation for you.
No.
A short sale can take months to even hear back on your initial offer.
And typically the banks will counter that offer.
Sure.
Anyways.
Yep.
So then you're in that negotiation period, and sometimes you can't come to an agreement.
Right.
The seller's not in a place. If there's something wrong with the property, say there is some siding that needs to be repaired or replaced, sometimes the seller is in a position where they don't have any money to put into the property, and the bank's not willing to put it into the property, so you're kind of stuck in that rock and a hard place where it's like, well, is this worth it to me? What am I able to do these repairs and make these changes to the property to make it my own for this lower price point that we're going to get it for? And
right, exactly. So with a short sale, it's the property sold as is.
Right.
The seller is not making any money on the house.
Property.
They're selling it for what under what they owe on their mortgage. So they're not walking away with a check at closing. So the chances of the seller doing any work to have the property sell is slim to none.
Right.
There's always negotiation in real estate,
right.
though. But chances are slim to none. So when you're buying a short sale, so pretty much to sum it up, the risks are the property sold as is. You never know what the bank is going to counter back at, or if you're going to be able to come to an agreement with the bank. and it could take a long period of time. It
Right.
could take months to hear back, and even if you do hear back, you might not be able to come to an agreement with the bank. So that pretty much sums up the short sale process. Now foreclosures are a little bit nicer. There are still some risks involved, but what's a foreclosure, Jen?
So that is when the bank owns the property. The seller is no longer living there. They have been evicted. It's past the sheriff's sale, and the bank actually owns the property. So a lot of the times foreclosures are a really good deal. The bank wants to get rid of the property. They don't want to hold on to it any longer. And usually they have kind of a set price. A lot of the times, like Megan and I have our BPO, the bank will send somebody out that works for them to do a BPO, which means a broker price opinion, to give market value for the property. And so typically when a foreclosure comes on the market, it is priced to sell. Somebody gives a very educated and knowledgeable price point to the bank, and typically they do listen for that price. There's not a whole lot of negotiation there. That's another thing with being sold as is. Typically the property is sold as is when it is a foreclosure, but it is a shorter process than a short sale. So
right, because the bank already owns the property. They've already had that price in mind. They're going to say, if someone comes to this price, sometimes even foreclosures go into multiple offer situations where there's a lot of interest at that price point and multiple buyers are offering on the property, so then the bank would take the highest and best offer. But like Jennifer said, it's typically sold as is. I'd say about 99% of the time the property is sold as is. We have had a situation though where we negotiated some repairs.
we did.
For our buyer.
Yep.
So,
There were some plumbing issues, and I said, look, no.
look, we're walking.
No, the house should be in functioning order, especially when you have financing addendums and things like that, because there's a lot of financing contingencies, things that will come up with the appraisal, and the property won't pass, FHA guidelines or conventional guidelines, and that's when you kind of run into some issues down the line. But
Sure.
Megan and I are really aware of what FHA requires and what conventional requires as far as lending requirements, and what a property standards need to be in order to get that financing approved for the property. So we're here to educate you. We're here to help you out and give you some really good knowledge and some things that we've already learned quite a lot about in our career. So
Yeah, absolutely. And something else about a foreclosure is another risk about buying a foreclosure is when you're purchasing or when you're making an offer on a traditional sale, you can see what's called a property disclosure. It's filled out by the seller, and it's to the best of their knowledge everything that's wrong with the property or any work that's been performed on the property. When you're buying a foreclosure, you do not get a copy of, there is no disclosure.
Right.
The owner, the seller in a foreclosure is the bank. So they don't have any knowledge about what's wrong with the house. They haven't lived there.
Right.
It was the previous seller. So you're kind of walking into it blind. Which
That's
is
why you always want to have a property inspection.
Yep. By our dad. He's an inspector.
So
No, really, he is. He's a great guy who obviously
knows a
we
lot.
know and trust, and he knows a lot, and it always works in our buyer's best interest. But yeah, absolutely, having an inspection is very important for a foreclosure.
Yep.
So there are some pros and some cons into
Right.
buying a short sale or a foreclosure. Now, a traditional sale is really for anyone. You get the property disclosure. There's not a lot of questions about, back and forth, that kind of stuff. I mean, negotiating with the seller is a lot easier than negotiating with a bank,
Right.
pretty much to sum it up. And you do have a property disclosure. The only reason that you wouldn't is if the property is being rented out and the seller hasn't lived there as their main residence for the last couple of years. So then it would be a seller's alternatives disclosure, which doesn't disclose too much either. So having an inspection on something like that is very important as well.
Right.
So if you're looking for a deal, we can always find deals in traditional sales
Right.
too. We're good at doing that, but we do have access to foreclosures, we have access to short sales, we have access to traditional sales. So really it is just kind of based on the buyer. What are you looking for? Are you willing to wait that amount of time? Are you willing to put some money into the property to have it fixed up and ready to go if it is more of a fixer-upper from being in the foreclosure process for a while?
Right.
So that kind of sums up our segment today.
And stay tuned for next week. If you have any questions or have any
feedback,
you can contact us at McPherson Homes on Twitter or on our McPherson Sisters team page on Facebook. Also, you can always call or text us at 763-221-2221. And
that's about it.
Thanks
for tuning in. We hope you have a great week.
Thank you.